Hello, welcome to Conway Video. I want to talk to you about two different job interviews that I had once, a long time ago, and some of the thinking I've had about those interviews, and I think some lessons that I learned from those interviews to do with adaptation. Now, when we try to adapt to a new situation as human beings, that's a really useful thing to be able to do that. So, if it's cold outside, at a very basic level, we adapt by putting on a warm jacket. If it's hot, then maybe we wear something that's, we wear a t-shirt and some cool clothing. And so, adaptation is a really good thing, and I think it's a really good for us to be able to adapt. But I also think it's not always good to adapt. Especially, it's not good to adapt to a situation where a better course of action would be to change the situation so we don't have to adapt to it. And I take these two interviews as kind of an example of this. So I had one job interview, and it was going to be a pretty well-paid job and some interesting challenges. And I also found the interview itself was challenging. And I don't mean just in the normal way of that you get answered questions that require thinking and problem solving and that really challenge you. But the interview I found uncomfortable and unpleasant. I found that it was a very tense situation. There was I was feeling a lot of anxiety in the interview. At certain points in the interview, I felt that I wasn't able to do the job properly because of the level of questions that were being asked. And just generally, the whole interview was a very unpleasant experience. And it really tested me and it challenged me, but I don't know that it challenged me in a way that was really constructive or useful. The feeling I had walking out from the interview was, I hope the real job isn't like this interview, right? Now, another interview I had, and this was around a similar time, it was quite different. It was a challenging interview. It was difficult in the sense that it wasn't just something you could just do, knock out the park without even thinking. Like, I had to focus and concentrate. But there was a way in which it was very easy and it wasn't difficult. And that was in the sense that I basically knew what was being asked of me. I knew what the test was going to require. I knew what I was meant to do to fulfill it. There was a bit of creativity and problem solving, and I knew what aspects of my abilities to apply to it. And I went and did the job. And so it wasn't, I didn't find myself to be that too anxious. I didn't find myself to be too upset about it, and I certainly didn't feel throughout the whole process, I didn't feel that I wasn't qualified or capable of doing my job. I certainly felt very confident that I could deliver. And the feeling I had walking out of that interview after I'd done that test was, if the whole job is going to be like this, sign me up. I'd like to do that job. It's not that the job's entirely so easy that I wouldn't even bat an eyelid. I mean, it's a difficult job, but it wasn't a kind of difficulty that would be unpleasant and that I wouldn't want to repeat. It was a kind of challenge that, I could come into work every day, drink my morning coffee, and get to work on this thing, and I would have quite a nice time of it. And so just comparing those two feelings, I started to think, which job would I have been better off taking? They were both, reasonably the same pay and a similar location. And you might be thinking this yourself. What job would you have taken in that situation? And of course, I think I ended up deciding to take the latter job. I decided to take the job that was challenging me, but that wasn't unpleasant. The job that I walk out feeling like I've worked and feeling like I've been challenged, but not feeling like I can't do this job and this is rotten and this is going downhill, not feeling like that. And at the end of the day, I think that was a good choice. And the reason is that it's better it would be better for me to adapt to something that I can adapt to and that I enjoy doing than for me to try and twist myself and adapt to something that I don't enjoy. So the first interview where I felt really stressed and anxious, maybe I could have kind of adapted myself to be able to deal with that anxiety and stress. So then, years and years later, I could do that job and I could have enough mental kind of buffering and fortressing that, I wouldn't feel so bad about being terrible at my job and being constantly given impossible problems to solve and that sort of thing. But do I really want to adapt to that? Is that really the sort of capabilities I want to be developing? It's that kind of adaptation. It's not really it's not really how I want to live my life. It's not me at my best. It's not me performing to my full potential. It's not me self-actualizing, and it's probably not the path to a really good profitability either, because I can't deliver my full capabilities. That's really given me a lot of deep thoughts about adaptation, and I think I've come out of that experience and that thinking, really believing that adaptation is good for a lot of things, but some things you shouldn't adapt to. Some situations aren't worth adapting to. And that's because those situations in and of themselves aren't right. They're not good situations. They're not situations in which you're going to succeed. They don't play to your natural strengths. They don't give you opportunities to improve and to constantly improve and grow. So they're not worth adapting to. What you're better off doing is adapting to situations where, as you adapt to them, you feel like you're capable and you're competent, you can do this, you can make sense of this. And by adapting in that way, I think you're adapting yourself then in a way that works. You're adapting in a positive way, which is like going to the gym, right? You go to the gym, you exercise, it hurts a little now and then, or it's a bit, you're a little bit puffed out, but over the long haul, you're able to actually build a fitter, stronger body, and you feel more energized in the morning, and it's better for you. That's a better kind of adaptation, rather than the flip side, which might be, say, like adapting to pain. So, I don't know, like hurting yourself or doing something to make yourself more resistant to pain. That's not a good situation, because you shouldn't be in pain in the first place. You shouldn't be adapting to a bad situation. You shouldn't be trying to get better at being in pain. You should be trying to remove the pain and move yourself into a situation where you don't have the pain. And then you can adapt in ways that are positive, that are actually going to increase your capability, increase your potential. So that's my thought about adaptation anyway. Thanks for watching.